Okay, I'm going to start off with introducing myself. My name's Jessica. I started doing breathwork probably a year and a half ago, or maybe like a year ago. I was going to a functional doctor, and for those of you who don't know what a functional doctor is, they take more of a holistic approach to help you teach your body how to function. So instead of like medications and all the things, they basically they're like trainers. It's like, hey, you have this issue, let's teach your body to do this thing again. So I had been going for probably a year. And mind you, I was like 3 years in to my health journey at this point. I had been to medical doctors, I'd been to endocrinologists, I'd been to thyroid specialists, I'd been to my family doctor. I had been everywhere. I felt so crappy, and I had all these things that I just like knew were going on. But I was getting no answers. And so I ended up at a functional doctor, and it was the best decision I ever made. But as I was going to my functional doctor, I went in, got blood work done, and she's like, bam, you have 9 things wrong with you. I was like, 9 things? And I can't even name them all off the top of my head. But the ones that I believe from breathwork, were benefited, was my cortisol levels. They were, when I first got my blood done, 280. And then, and you're supposed to be at 100. And I don't know what they measure everything in, but mine were 280. You're supposed to be at 100. The next thing was my thyroid. I had Hashimoto's, and I had no idea that I had Hashimoto's. And I learned from my functional doctor that it can be triggered from a couple of things. It's not genetic, but it can be triggered from trauma. It can be triggered from toxins introduced to the body, and it can be triggered from inflammation. And I know I'm missing a couple of other things, but those were the things that affected me. So that's what I remember. So anyways, I would get blood work done every 3 months, and I would go in, and things would get a little bit better and a little bit better, but not significantly better. And so I'm okay, especially my cortisol levels. My cortisol levels would budge a little bit, but not a ton. And so she finally was like, have you ever tried cognitive therapy? She's like, I know you go to talk therapy, but you should try going and doing cognitive therapy. And I was like, what even is that? She's like, well, they have pottery classes or painting classes, or have you ever heard of breathwork or yoga? And I was like, breathwork? Because honestly, I'm not artistic. So when she said the painting, and that was out of the question. And yoga, I have done a couple of times. Not my thing. I was like, breathwork, let's talk about breathwork. I can breathe. I'll try that. She's like, okay, the next time I see you, I want you to have taken a breathwork class, and let's see where your blood level's at. So I hop on my computer, I'm like, breathwork classes in Utah County. And I find this yoga studio, and I don't know where what the name of it even is. But I find this yoga studio, and Jana is the teacher. And I go to her Instagram. I'm like, I want to see her Instagram, and I want to see what this is all about. And she talked about how she healed her own gut, and she talked about all the other benefits from breath work. And I was like, okay, I want to go do this. This sounds amazing. I want to heal my gut. I want to be superhuman. So I booked this class, and I went with my best friend Amanda. And I remember that my first class, I just remember feeling just so comfortable and safe. And if you know Jana, you know that she's such a safe space. And I will say that I think that has a lot to do with breath work as well, because if you don't feel comfortable, it's just such a vulnerable experience already. It's going to be really hard to open up. So that was the first thing. And I know that's true because I've been to a lot of other breathwork classes, and no one makes me feel as comfortable as Jana. So, and I always have my best experiences with her. And so we get to the class, and we do the whole intro, and now it's time to do the breathwork part. And I'm like, okay, what the heck did I sign up for? But I honestly had the most amazing experience. And a lot of the things that I was working on in talk therapy was like trauma, and it was trauma from like my past, and I just felt like we weren't making a ton of progress on it. But from breathwork, I was able to process some of that and process things that I didn't even know were traumatic that I was storing in my body. So the next time I went in for a blood test, I went in every 3 months. It was night and day. I had never seen my cortisol levels move that much, and my thyroid, like Hashimoto's, it was like almost cured. And so she's like, what did you do this time? And I was like, I did breath work. Like, I went every 2 weeks after my first class, and she was like, keep going. So I kept going, and I can tell you, my levels. So they went from like 250 to like 140. Like, that's insane. And when your cortisol levels go down, when they're that high, just everything else like benefits from it, because when your stress hormone's that high, it's just not good. So I kept going and going, and honestly, like, within 6 months, I can tell you now, like, I don't have Hashimoto's anymore. I'm completely healed from it. My cortisol levels are normal range. And the beauty of it is if I know that my cortisol levels like feel higher, just because I've like studied it, I always know I can go to breathwork and get those re-leveled. Other things that benefited were my hormones. My progesterone went up, my testosterone went up. And yeah, I don't know. I owe a lot to breathwork, and truthfully, like, my experience with Jana has been nothing but beautiful. I have created like such a great friendship with her, and her class just holds a space for me, like, in my heart, because that is where I say, I don't know. I am like, that's where I like fixed everything, and like, I truly just feel like that's where my life has started. I was just spending so many years just struggling and being so frustrated, and I just felt like I wasn't living. And I can truthfully say, like, breathwork gave me my life back, and as dramatic as that sounds, like, I mean it. I have my health back, and that's priceless. And it's all just from breathing, and it's all from Jana. And so a class with her is just the best.